Have you ever come home after a long day, drained from back to back decisions, a full clinic, and a long drive, and the people you love the most ran to hug you and you brushed them off because you just needed 5 minutes to catch up on emails and messages? I did that too much, and what scared me wasn't the emails, it was that I couldn't stop. No matter how much I did, I couldn't switch off. I had no off button. And that inability to switch off, even at home, even with my children right in front of me, that's when I realized something was deeply wrong. I wasn't just busy, I was chronically stressed. And there's a difference. Because stress itself isn't the enemy. The right kind of stress can sharpen you, drive you, and even help you live longer. Chronic stress, that one will cost you everything that matters. Today, I'm going to talk about the difference and how to fix it. Amit's Leadership Compass, where I'm continuing my Ikigai series. And this week, I'm tackling something every leader deals with: stress. But here's the twist: stress isn't the problem, chronic stress is. And the difference between the two might be one of the most important leadership lessons hidden inside the world's longest living communities. So let's start with what the research tells us. Chronic, long term stress is a known enemy of health and longevity. When it becomes your baseline, your body pays the price, and often quietly at first. Cortisol remains elevated, your sympathetic nervous system stays switched on, and over time, that impairs immune function, disrupts sleep, increases inflammation, and narrows your cognitive bandwidth. You just don't feel worse, you think worse. But here's what's fascinating: low levels of stress are actually beneficial. Dr. Howard Friedman found that people who faced meaningful challenges and leaned into them with purpose and engagement actually lived longer. They didn't avoid stress, they channeled it. The difference wasn't the presence of pressure, it was a presence of meaning. This is what scientists call eustress, good stress. Now, think about the last time you prepared for a high stakes presentation, the nervous energy, the sharpened focus, the elevated standards. That's stress working exactly as it should. You deliver and your nervous system recovers. That recovery is part of the design. In my early years as a business owner, stress felt like fuel. The adrenaline of building something new sharpened my thinking and raised my standards. It was purposeful, it was energizing. But once the novelty faded and life settled, the business was running, the family was growing, something shifted. The pressure didn't disappear, it just stopped resetting. What had once felt like meaningful challenge became relentless grind. No recovery, no reset. That's when good stress tips into something far more damaging. Intensity versus duration, purpose versus overwhelm. Short bursts of stress tied to something you care about build resilience. Chronic stress without recovery breaks you down. Looking back on that period, I came across an article recently by James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, where he explores the four burners theory. The idea is simple. Imagine your life as a stove with four burners: family, friends, health, and work. And the theory says that for you to be successful, you have to turn one burner down. And to be really successful, you have to turn two down. I had turned three of them down without even realizing it. Family, friends, and health were all running on low, and I told myself that that was a sacrifice success required. But it wasn't the challenge itself that did the damage, it was the absence of recovery. No reset, no breathing space, just constant pressure. That's the difference between good and chronic stress, and I was firmly in the wrong camp. Recovery isn't a reward for hard work, it's a requirement for leadership, for sustainable leadership. That experience taught me something I see in leaders all the time. We confuse constant urgency with productivity. Everything feels high stakes: every email, every decision, every file to put out. And when everything is urgent, nothing is strategic. Gradually, the state of chronic activation becomes our baseline, and we forget what it feels like to think clearly, to lead deliberately, to operate from a place of calm rather than reaction. You can survive in that state. You can push through, but strategic thinking, genuine connection, and your best decisions don't come from a nervous system in survival mode. The leaders who last are the ones who learn to distinguish between challenges worth engaging with, meaningful stress, and chronic overwhelm that needs to be addressed before it does real damage. For me, that lesson arrived in the most humbling way possible, years after I thought I'd already learnt it. I was a leader who had confused urgency with productivity so completely that I couldn't switch off when I walked through my own front door. I started noticing that when I got home after a long day in clinic and a difficult drive, my children would run to me, excited, full of energy, wanting to talk and hug and be close. But I was snapping at them because I still had emails to answer, because I hadn't switched off. On one hand, I was telling myself everything I was doing was for my family, and yet on the other hand, I was pushing my family away the moment I walked through the door. The nervous system doesn't care about your attention, it responds to your presence. My children didn't deserve that, and if I'm honest, neither did I. My family is one of my core ikigais, one of the things that gives my life its deepest meaning, and I was letting chronic stress rob me of the very thing I was working so hard to protect. That was the moment I stopped treating stress management as optional. It's not optional, it's infrastructure. So, how do the world's longest living people handle this? They don't try to eliminate stress, they metabolize it. In Okinawa, stress management isn't something people schedule, it's woven into daily life. Older Okinawans practice gentle, moving meditation, such as Tai Chi, combining controlled breathing with deliberate movement to regulate their nervous system. They tend gardens, spend time in nature, and gather in small groups called moas, trusted circle of friends who provide emotional support and shared purpose across decades. Some of these moas have met for decades, the same people, the same circle, the same commitment to showing up for one another across a lifetime. These aren't luxuries, these are non negotiables. They work because they're consistent, not a retreat once a year, small daily practices that keep the system regulated and the mind clear. As leaders, we need our version of this. It might not be Tai Chi, but the principle is the same. Recovery must be a discipline, not an afterthought. So, for me, the things that generally reset my nervous system are the things that bring me joy. Time with my wife, my children, my parents, my friends. Social connection is fuel for me. It reminds me why I do what I do. But I'm human, so even in those moments, I can drift. A message appears, an email pulls me back in. So, for me, I suppose my truest form of recovery, the times when my mind is completely free, is when I'm on the bike, on the Peloton, I'm in the swimming pool, in meditation or in prayer. No phone, no notifications, just movement, stillness, and reflection in equal measure. It's not dramatic, it's not glamorous, but those small, consistent resets compound over time, and they've made me a better leader, a better father, and a better husband. Here's my question for you. It might be a 10-minute walk without your phone before you enter your home. Maybe 5 minutes of breath work before you open your laptop in the morning. Or protecting one evening a week where work simply does not exist. Small, repeatable, non negotiable. What's one ritual you could commit to this week, not to eliminate stress, but to recover from it intentionally? Drop your answer in the comments. I would love to hear what you like to do. If this episode resonated, please do like, subscribe, and share with a leader in your life who needs to hear this. In the next episode of Amit's Leadership Compass, I'll be exploring something often overlooked in leadership development, but one of the strongest predictors of a long and fulfilling life: deep social connection. It's not just good for you, it's a leadership advantage. Until then, keep leading with clarity, courage, and intent, and keep navigating your leadership compass.